Ooh, I love it when I hear the bass line. Welcome to another episode of the Scott Hamilton Show. We are on the precipice of a fantastic weekend of sports, not just college basketball, even though the schedule is absolutely fantastic. We've got the Super Bowl, which is probably the tentpole event in the sports world, on the sports calendar. I mean, it's the one. It lures people who aren't even football fans. They watch for the commercials, they watch for the halftime shows, and we're not going to dive down that road today. They pay attention. The ratings are always historical or tiptoeing towards historical, or always the biggest audience for that year. It's a cultural phenomenon like we've never seen. And people all around the world watch the Super Bowl. This year's Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots, East Coast, West Coast. You know, of course, all the commercials. I don't get as invested in the commercials as I used to, though. I don't know why. It's kind of like they've lost a little bit of something with me, a little cachet, maybe. Just not that invested in it in general, to be honest with you. I'm a college sports guy. The matchup is curious, I guess. I mean, I want to see Drake May, Charlotte guy. I want to see Mike Vrabel coaching on the big stage after being on the big stage as a player multiple times. I want to see how Seattle does on this stage. But I'm not like emotionally invested in the game. So, but I'll watch. I'll be like the rest of the world. We've got so much going on, though. I mean, there's college basketball, there's Super Bowl, golf going on in Phoenix, the Waste Management Open, the biggest spectacle in golf. It's happening. It's always a cool event. Daytona 500 is right around the corner. The Super Bowl of stock car racing. And it's kind of funny. It's not kind of funny. It is odd that they have their biggest event first. I always wondered the rationale behind that. I guess so they got to really make a big to-do of it and really get people interested in racing from the get-go. And I guess going to Daytona and driving on the beach back in the day was a way for them to get a respite from wintry weather in the Carolinas and North Georgia and all those other places that was the ancestral home of stock car racing. So they made that race the biggest. That's something we need to dive into at one point. Winter Olympics are up and running. That's a big deal. And it's going to be a bigger deal once the Super Bowl stops sucking up all the oxygen in the room. Speaking of sucking up all the oxygen, yeah, I mentioned it. We've got a wonderful college basketball season underway, but the biggest news so far, at least the thing getting the most attention to most headlines, is what's happening in court instead of on the court. And that's where we're going to start off with today. We'll go ahead and grab our headlines now. And sure enough, down in Alabama, Charles Bediako, the former Alabama, former G League, current Alabama player, we don't have a decision yet. His hearing was Friday, and everything went as scheduled in the hearing, but a response from the judge not happening. So I guess we'll find out over the weekend, or rather next week, after the weekend, what that's going to be. Meanwhile, Alabama plays at Auburn on Saturday, the Iron Bowl of basketball. I guess that's a thing. The Iron Bowl of basketball. Is that what they call it? Might want to investigate that. Either way, it's going to be played on Saturday down on the plains. Curious to see what Charles Bediako does in that game. It's Alabama's record, not great since he returned. I think he's played fine. I think he's been a real asset, but the rest of the team not looking too good. I think about the curb stomping. Man, the curb stomping to Florida the other day, which Florida's front court, probably the best in the country. Alabama hung on and beat Texas A&M the other night, and A&M was in first place of the SEC. Bucky McMillan, Bucky Ball, all of that. Alabama got a much-needed win with that. How are they going to respond against Auburn? We'll find out on Saturday. But the Bediako case, again, that's taking up all the newsprint, if that were still a thing. And we've had some curious things come of it, besides actually that this guy is trying to go. He went to the G League, went to the NBA draft, didn't get drafted, ended up spending time in the G League. Now he's coming back. And there's been a couple of things come of it recently. One, Nate Oates, the coach at Alabama, is saying that they are keeping him no matter what the judge decides. He's going to have a scholarship. He's going to remain enrolled at school. And that's been the crux of the argument for Charles Bediako's legal team, that he's wanting to continue his education, which he could have done years ago. Good on him, I guess, for keeping him around. We got Doug Gottlieb, longtime member of the media, national radio host, analyst on various channels. He's now the coach at Wisconsin Green Bay, but he still has a podcast, still keeps his feet in two worlds. We've got him coming on later in the program. I'm going to ask him about Nate Oates' comment regarding keeping Charles Bediako around regardless, because to me that seems to be cutting off their case, cutting it off at the knees. Or is it just simply, hey, we're going to look after our guy because he is an Alabama guy? It's not like it's a foreign player they're bringing in mid-season who has no ties, no connection to the university. This is a guy who actually played a couple of years at Alabama just a few seasons ago. We'll see what Doug Gottlieb thinks about that. And I'm also going to ask him this. What does he think about SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey in his affidavit or deposition or whatever legal document it was with regards to this case, actually saying he agrees with the NCAA not allowing Charles Bediako to play? Is it, does he legitimately feel that way? Or is he just saying that? I have a feeling he might be doing that to appease the majority of the membership of his conference. Remember, there's 16 teams in the SEC. This is one involved with this. That'll be something we run by Doug Gottlieb when he joins the program. I am curious to get his response with regards to that question. Here's something though that did pop up, and I posted this on my Twitter/X account at Scott8Sports, and this was in regards to a comment that was made by Richard Hendricks. Richard Hendricks, former Alabama basketball player. He's now an analyst for the SEC network, and he says some of the culpability in the Bediako situation lies with the NBA, that the NBA draft should be revised. That, and I'm quoting, as an underclassman that declared early, your eligibility shouldn't be in jeopardy just for trying to get a job. And that if he, Bediako, knew he would have gone and drafted, he would have never left school. Okay, I get that. Here was my response, though. I totally disagreed. There's a deadline to pull your name back. Once you enter the draft and you go through the process and their combine type deal and all that, you have until such and such a date to pull your name back. That wasn't even a thing until 2016. It used to be if you entered the draft, your goose was cooked as far as college. You were done. See ya. Good luck. See you at the reunion. That's not the case anymore. They instituted this deadline to pull your name out in 2016. So, and I agree. I think that's very prudent. But what that did is that put the onus on Charles Bediako to do his homework, to see how he would do when it came time for teams to make selections. So he either failed to do his homework, or his agents or his coaches, or all three failed to do their due diligence to come up with an informed decision. So there's no blame here at all to be placed on the NBA. I mean, if you allow players to ride this thing out, every guy out there presumably could enter his name into the NBA draft, which would put teams across America into a purgatory. Try to build a roster with that, not knowing who's coming back, who's not coming back. Coaches are going to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to get assessment of their own guys with regards to their pro futures instead of the one guys who are certain to go pro. There'll be guys throwing their names out there just because. That would be ridiculous. It's hard enough to construct and maintain a roster nowadays. To throw that into the mix would be just disastrous. So I'm going to disagree with Richard Hendricks on that part. But we'll discuss all this and more with Doug Gottlieb when he joins us in just a few minutes. We'll get his take on lots of things. Really interesting dude. Big Saturday in college basketball. Monster Saturday in college basketball. The best rivalry in college basketball. It's going to resume. Duke at North Carolina, number 4 Blue Devils at number 14 Tar Heels. And what has my attention for that game? And I've been to several of these games. I've been to them at the Smith Center. I've been to them at Cameron Indoor Stadium. I've seen young teams. I've seen old teams. I've seen Coach K. I've seen I've seen this game a bunch. Been there. It's nothing like it. It's cool. My attention for this game, though, is going to be on 2 freshmen. Caleb Wilson for North Carolina, and Cam Boozer for Duke. I'm fascinated to see how this plays out. Right now, I would give Duke an edge, but it is in Chapel Hill, and weird things happen in this rivalry, as they do with all rivalries. Some more rivalries. Tennessee at Kentucky. Tennessee's a team that perplexes me. Goes through stretches where it looks absolutely fantastic, and then goes through stretches where it just seems to just vanish. Like it doesn't even look like an NCAA team at some points. But Rick Barnes figuring things out. They put a good beating on Ole Miss the other night. Won by like 18 points, I believe. So that was good for the Vols. They're coming off a win at Auburn. Got a win at Georgia. Good Georgia team, even though it's had some stumbles lately. I want to see this game, how it plays out also, because remember when Kentucky went to Tennessee at the end of last month, Wildcats pulled out a win 80-78. What's going to happen this time around? And has Kentucky figured itself out? Mark Pope's rotations perplex me, man. They confuse the crap out of me. It's almost like he still doesn't know who his best five is, or he still doesn't know, which guys should substitute at which times. It just seems to be throwing a lot of stuff at the wall. A guy will play 8 minutes this game, then start the next game. Or a guy will start this game and then only play 4 minutes the next game. It's just really confusing. I know they've had injuries, but by this point, you should have a sense of what you're doing, what your rotations and your substitutions are going to be. I still think he's feeling that out. I do. But I'm encouraged by that win over Oklahoma the other night. Cats look really good. It's been one of their best complete games of the year, honestly, and they needed it. It was a hell of a response after just getting thoroughly embarrassed at Vanderbilt just a few days before. So good on Kentucky for that. Tennessee headed to Rep Arena on Saturday. Illinois at Michigan State, two of the best teams in the Big Ten, not named Michigan, and then I would throw Purdue in that mix as well. That's going to be fantastic. Houston at BYU. Florida at A&M. Florida looking, again, really good. I was so impressed with how they looked against Alabama. A&M hitting the meat of its schedule. We're going to find out just how resilient and how long-lasting Buckyball will be in the Southeastern Conference this season. Aggies trying to maintain first place. And then Clemson, number 20 Clemson, continuing its West Coast swing. It's going to be at Cal. They pulled out that narrow win at Stanford the other night. Got their defense when they needed to. Clemson's defense stepped up when it had to step up. A really clutch effort on the defensive end for the Tigers. So good on Brad Brownell and his team. Women's basketball on Sunday, number 3 South Carolina at number 19 Tennessee. South Carolina put a stomping on Mississippi State Thursday night. Joyce Edwards, man, sophomore, if she's not an All-American, I don't know what is. They're rolling. The SEC in women's basketball is just absolutely stupid. It's incredible. And speaking of the SEC becomes the first conference to be a billion-dollar conference with regards to how it's paying its members. Seth Emerson of The Athletic, he had it reported that the conference doled out $1.03 billion with a B to its 16 members over the last fiscal year. That's an average payout of $72.4 million, about $20 million more than the previous fiscal year of 2023-2024. But this last one also was the first year with the new ESPN contract, and also the first year with Oklahoma and Texas being members, and also of a 12-team college football playoff. So, of course, there's going to be bigger bucks to rake in. They're not going to be alone, though, as a billion-dollar conference for long. Big Ten should hit that mark next time it files a report. Total revenue 23-24 was $928 million. And that was before Oregon, UCLA, USC, and Washington. And they also have some new network things going to kick in. But that's ledger stuff. Let's talk about legal stuff. Let's talk about the Charles Bediako case and the impact it's having just by being discussed. Not even that, we don't even have a decision yet. Just by discussing it, it's really driving the conversation about all of college athletics, and maybe it'll bring about change, because the rules that people are bitching about, that Alabama's playing by, presumably, or at least they say they are, by trying to get him made eligible, those are decided on by the membership of the NCAA. The NCAA works for its constituents, not the other way around. So if they don't like the rules, then it's up to the constituents to change those rules. We'll see if our guest, Doug Gottlieb, agrees with us on the other side. Stick around.
Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream, fanstreamsports.com.
Still no white smoke out of Tuscaloosa. Apparently, the Charles Bediako case is going to be at least over the weekend, which allows them time to play the Iron Bowl of basketball. I guess that's what you call it. But it also allows time for a lot of questions to linger, a lot of opinions to form. And I have both, and I'm sure our guest does as well. Let's welcome aboard Doug Gottlieb. Second year, right? Second year as the head coach at Wisconsin Green Bay, and he's got his big coat on. We see that, so it's colder there than it is here in the Carolinas. But Doug, my first question for you, and it's a pretty straightforward question: would Doug Gottlieb, the coach, had taken this path if a Charles Bediako situation had materialized for you? What would you have done as a coach?
What's interesting, we actually brought in a pro last year, mid-season. We sort of started some of this madness. Yonatan Levy, who now plays for Pepperdine, joined us at semester last year. And now he was playing professionally in Israel, and he had to prove that what he received was not above that of any of his expenses. Again, we had nothing to do with that. He simply had to do it along with his agent in order to go through the clearinghouse for eligibility. But by all accounts, and by Yonatan's own account, he's a professional player. And I think the argument that a lot of people are making, a lot of coaches are making, is, hey, how come it's okay to bring over a foreign kid who plays professionally? We have two this year. Vukašin Todorovic is Slovenian. He was playing professionally in Serbia last year. And Marouan Cicic actually played prep school ball here, but he does have a standing contract with Partizan, one of which they've let him out of, so he can play college basketball. But Vukašin is technically played professional basketball, but didn't make anything above that of his expenses. So here's where you draw the line. I would say I draw the line. Charles Bediako, who, by the way, I think is tremendous. He was the best rim protector in college basketball back when they were the number one seed, and I was covering college basketball. The difference is that foreign players, previous to this new era, once they signed professionally, it was very, very difficult to get them eligible. But they didn't have the choice to make. They didn't have the choice of college or G League, college or the NBA, or being in college and then leaving college to play professionally. Would I do it? It's a really hard question. The honest answer is, I don't know. I mean, look, if it was in the heart of last year, and for people who don't know, no, we lost 21 games in a row last year. I had the nation's leading scorer. I got the job late. I had this kid, Anthony Roy, who's now starring at Oklahoma State, and he breaks his ankle. Yonatan wasn't yet here. We didn't have big guys. I had to jettison a couple of guys for academics. We were on academic probation. We had all kinds of issues that we had to end. We just had to get through it, and the kids fought their tails off. We were competitive in a lot of games, but we just didn't have enough players. If I'm fighting for my job, probably I would do it. This year, I don't have the space. There's plenty of players that were out there that put their name in the portal, and they're like, hey, he'd come for half as much now. And we passed because we had guys. We could have run guys off who aren't what we thought they were in the portal or transferring in from junior college or whatever. But I don't think I would have, because there's one universal rule. When you're in college and you decide to go pro, you bid adieu to college. You say, hey, I know I could still come back and play, but I'm not going to. And once you make that decision, the window closes and you move on with your life. I do understand that, Harvard, for example, welcomes back students of all ages who leave. You can come back anytime you want. But that's not how college athletics works. And so, despite the fact that I think Alabama does a great job, and, at times they've done less with more, I defended them even with the Brandon Miller thing going back when Bediako was a player there. This one I think is beyond that, and the pitch of his basketball career could be over if he's ineligible. Like, no, then pack your stuff, get your passport, go play overseas. That's what all the rest of us did when we left college. We couldn't make it in the NBA, went and played overseas. So I don't. And again, it's Pandora's box, and once it gets opened, it's like, when does it end?
Yeah.
When does it end?
And I agree with you. I mean, look, I'm not going to be that guy. I mean, it's like live golf. I could sit here and criticize those dudes all day. It's Saudi money, and how could you do that? Somebody puts $100 million in front of you. It's hard to make a decision. Only then will
Yeah, yeah.
where
You know
you
what it
are
is?
in life.
You know what's interesting? Do you remember there was a show? It was like a summer show, and it was called "What Would You Do?"
Yeah, yeah.
And there's like a stroller going down like a street with like a parent, somebody you thought was a parent chasing after it. And there's people in an outdoor cafe, and like only one of the people stopped the stroller, right? Because everybody says, I would stop the stroller. But then when in the face of it, when you're not planning for it, turns out a lot less people will stop the stroller, right? So I do get that. I do think though that this is, again, it's Pandora's. It's just like the NIL thing. Like once you open Pandora's box, it's really hard to close it. And I love what the NCAA, like they found a loophole there. Like, hey, just because there's a TRO doesn't mean he's eligible. If he's not eligible, those wins don't count. So you know, I do think of the places for it to be in the SEC is perfect. It completely fits the narrative. For them, it means more. For the rest of us, it's, hey, let's just be honest. In the SEC, they care about winning more than winning with class and dignity and all those other things. But again, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. If it's within the rules, it's within the rules. I wasn't actually critical of Baylor for the Najee kid who's struggling. Um, but because he had never been in college, it was a little bit different. But again, it started this kind of cascade of guys. And if this gets approved, then all bets are off. Then we're all going to be doing this. We're all going to find guys who have some eligibility or some years left to come back. And we're going to try and find a way to get it. And like at some point, it's like, what are we actually doing here? Are we actually educating, playing student athletes? Are we actually competing against universities? Or are we just finding, are these really semi-professional teams? And that is the feeling that we're giving to fans.
Three things out of what you just said. First of all, and I don't expect you to comment on another coach or anything like that, but Nate Oates, we're talking about TV shows. He's playing Fear Factor. How far is he willing to go with this to see it through? Well, Doug,
People
right
say
now
I look like Nate, and he's from Wisconsin, so
Ooh.
yeah. So I mean, again, I like Nate. I have a good relationship with
Mhm.
Nate. There's a kid on his team, uh, um, Mallet, who's
Yep.
Millette, who's a stud. He's an Orange County kid. His dad Wes was an AD, and now he's in the business in the private sector. Is great. Like again, this is just I don't think it's right. It has nothing to do with Nate Oates per se. I just don't think this is the right way to do things. But
Well,
the SEC has always pushed the envelope of what's right, what's wrong, and it doesn't surprise me. And his job is to win basketball games.
right.
That's it. So he's just trying to do his job. I think the really sad part, to be totally honest, is how it initially went down. And it's not dissimilar. This happened in West Virginia, happened in Gonzaga. They have a kid, Tyan Grant Foster, who missed a year and a half with a heart issue, but he played 5 years of college basketball. Then he had 2 years that he played sparingly and didn't play 1 year because of the heart issue. Like, you played 5 years. But the sad part is all of it starts with a local judge who's friendly to the school. So wait a second. You mean to tell me we're supposed to have the best judicial system on earth, the fairest, most dignified judicial system on earth? And for college athletics, all you got to do is be friendly with the university, and you're going to find a loophole to get a kid eligible. Like, what is wrong with our judicial system with these judges? That I have a bigger problem with than a college basketball coach who's trying to win games, going to get in a player who may or may not be eligible and say, "Hey, take it to court. If you get eligible, we'll play." That's what, honestly, that's not the answer I probably should have had. That's the real answer that most of these guys, because if he gets approved, they're all going to go do it. They just are. They're
Sure,
going to go
it's
do
in the
it.
rules.
And they're going to sit there and go like, look, I get it, but what, I'm supposed to not take advantage of a kid who left? Amari Bailey, who was at UCLA. Supposedly he wants to come back because he stinks as a pro. Like, I don't know what you do there. If he's eligible, then why not? If you don't play him, somebody else is gonna. And you know what they don't do? You know the only unforgivable sin in college athletics is in coaching?
What's that?
Losing.
Losing.
That's it. Every coach will tell you, they all tell you all these other things important. Well, as long as you don't lose. You lose, you're the worst person on earth.
My issue though with Alabama is they're positioning it as, he wanted to come back and get his degree and all that, and then Nate Oates undermines it by saying they're keeping him on scholarship no matter what. That kind of
That doesn't,
defeats the
I
whole
don't think that undermines it.
purpose. You
I
don't
don't
think
think
so?
that undermines it. No, because what he's saying is, hey, if he can't play, he can still come back and get his education. I actually think that tracks. I actually agree with that. Do I think he'll stay and get his degree in person? Of course not. Of course not.
Well,
I mean, like, look, dude, the education deal is comical. So I took over a program that is on academic probation, APR probation. So I want people to understand they really haven't changed APR since it came to effect in like 2004. I asked a question about it at the NCAA convention at the Final Four, and they basically poo-pooed the answer, which was in front of all the Division I head coaches, and which is like, are we going to address the fact that we have a rule set in an arcane time, like it's just archaic, being in 2004, being 2026. So what you have to do is you have to recruit players that are going to leave, and you have to make sure they're in good academic standing. Or else, if they leave, even if they couldn't cut it academically, you get punished as a university. Meanwhile, like even within our league, which is right here in the Midwest, in Ohio and Indiana, and in Wisconsin, next year we expand to Northern Illinois. Like the travel is crazy. Can you imagine? Like Iowa went out and played out on the West Coast. They played like what, Washington and Oregon. Like, how are you getting any schoolwork done? No one goes to class in person anymore. Everything's online. There isn't a college experience. People have a different team every year. We have destroyed the fabric of what I believe is the greatest system. You want to call it minor league athletics or whatever. And at some point, the first thing to go is the Olympic sports, right? And those are the student athletes that are really there for all the right reasons. And then eventually, we're going to condense Division I athletics where we don't have near the opportunities. So, in an effort to pay the 10 kids that have value that truly above that of a scholarship, we're going to destroy the system. So, thank you, Jay Billis, and all these other people that called it a crime that student athletes got a scholarship that they couldn't pay for. I couldn't pay for my scholarship when I went to college. I couldn't have gotten into Notre Dame when I went there out of high school. Probably could have gotten into Oklahoma State, but couldn't have afforded it. All these benefits that weren't good enough. Now Pandora's box is open, and we're going to bankrupt athletic departments, and it will hurt schools. It'll hurt opportunities because of the value of the few who are going to leave anyway. That's the other part to it.
Just a couple more, Doug. I know you got a lot going on. What was your reaction when you heard that Sankey came out and was actually siding with the NCAA? Did you take it at face value, or do you think it's sincere? How did you read it?
So Greg Sankey works for all of the SEC schools. So my guess is he polled all the ADs, he polled all the presidents, and this is what they believe. He's right, by the way. He's right. So was I surprised? No, not really. Um, because he's you got to be kind of a politician. And even though as the commissioner of the SEC, you're more powerful than any of the heads of the NCAA, you have to poll your schools. And my guess is that enough of the schools said like, no, we don't. This is one of those that it's like when you're in president. Like at some point, you got to understand what is unpopular with your constituency. This is very unpopular with his constituency.
We could go down a huge rabbit hole with that one. We're going to go to my last thought for you, this might actually encourage you, Doug. That the judge in the case now is Daniel Pruitt, because the previous judge recused himself because it turned out he was a booster. Yes, this is a Tuscaloosa courtroom, but This is the
He's an Auburn
same
alum?
judge. I'm still trying to figure that part out, but this will give you maybe some encouragement. The he is the judge in the Darius Miles case, and the defense actually tried to get him to recuse himself from that case, citing bias against the defense. So maybe he is an Auburn alum.
Who knows? I mean, even honestly, even if he's an Auburn alum and the perception of because he's an Auburn alum that he deems him ineligible, I think that's wrong, right? Judges are supposed to see the law, not the side, not the color. They're supposed to be the ultimate neutral. Honest to goodness, that's the most disappointing, disheartening, and in some ways disgusting thing about this. Like, are you kidding? You can find a local judge that gets you a TRO so you can play even though you've been deemed to be ineligible? Like, in what world are we okay with somebody being a judge? If they can be influenced by the university that they went to, that they donate, or that the fan base or whatever, then they shouldn't be a judge.
Or the
Period.
people that
Stop.
vote for them, like Joey Aguiar in Knoxville. You know, the same thing with the quarterback. I mean,
Sure.
those people are elected to those positions. Those are UT people who are voting. So that's you're pandering to them.
Yeah, but again, once you get that position, you're supposed to be above that. You are. You're
Right.
supposed to be about the law. You know, it's not about feelings. It's about facts. It's about the law and the interpretation of the law. So, I mean, I thought it was pretty cut and dry. Now, again, so much of this, all of this stuff, comes down to lawyers and judges not doing their job. And if people want to stop all this transferring stuff, all they have to do is when a player signs a multi-year contract that has a buyout in it, and a high percentage of incoming highly rated freshmen in football and basketball, I've been told, we've only done this with one incoming freshman and with one incoming junior college recruit, is sign them to a multi-year deal. If they leave, there's a buyout. They have to pay the buyout, right? It's no different than, obviously, you work in the media. I've worked in the media. We have non-compete clauses, right? So if you leave and you have a non-compete clause, if you don't pay the buyout, then you can't compete. You can get money from somewhere else, but you can't perform said service. But until those are held up in a court of law, until the law does its job, we're going to have chaos in college athletics.
I had to pay a buyout one time. It sucked. Don't get me started on that. He's coach at University of Wisconsin Green Bay. You've also got your podcast going, All Ball with Doug Gottlieb, and that's on the iHeart Podcast Network. Let me ask you, Doug. I know you've got a finite amount of time, but I think you're an interesting dude because you are able to keep a foot into those two very different worlds of being a coach and being in the media. And you I mean, those are different worlds, man. And those worlds don't generally trust each other.
Yeah.
How do you manage to navigate it?
Well, I was doing the national radio show up until January 1. And walking away from it was hard because I'd done it for over 20 years. It was, a lot of it was perception, but some of it was just time. You need time to be a human being. You need time to go see high school games, time to recruit. I believed I was prepared. My staff believed I was prepared. I have an unbelievable staff. Um, how do you do it now? I mean, now I can do it kind of at my leisure, and I can pick and choose the topics I want to get into. Right now, people in the MAC conference aren't fond of me because I pointed out the fact that their conference, by and large, like Miami of Ohio, is 23-0, having an unbelievable year. It's very hard to compare those teams with our league because our league plays a hefty number of guarantee games, right? So yes, they beat Wright State, who's in first place in our league. They beat them back in November. I don't know what it would be like if they played a home and home, but they played us in a home and home. We're 1-1 against the MAC. We beat UMass in the Virgin Islands. We lost to Buffalo like 2 weeks before that. Again, back in November, we're a completely different team. I think Buffalo's a different team. But my point was and remains that I value analytics, but there's a massive flaw in them in the preseason rankings. For example, not the ones by the coaches poll or the AP poll; those are a joke anyway. But the analytical data, like, how do you have analytical data? I had 10 new players. None of them had played Division I basketball. I had a Division III All-American, but how does that translate to Division I? It doesn't. I had 2 international players you've never seen play. I'd never seen play in person, right? I have junior colleges. Do you know I have a 29-year-old ex-Navy enlisted man?
No. How's that
Yeah.
working out for you? I mean, does he talk to you about like Roth IRAs and stuff, 401k?
No, he's way less worldly than you would think. Ramel's a great kid. So Ramel Bethea is his name. He never played basketball as a kid. He was a gamer. He was like a ranked gamer. I swear to God. Goes to high school in Maryland, or no, in Virginia. Virginia. Doesn't play. Gets out. He's like 6'3", 130 pounds, soaking wet. Starts working at Dunkin' Donuts, Home Depot, grocery store. He's at Depot, and a Marine recruiter walks in, and he wanted to join the Marines, but he has tattoos on his hands, and at that time, they wouldn't take anything below the sleeve. So she says, maybe you think about joining the Navy. So he joins the Navy. He becomes a mechanic. He grows late in life from 6'3" to 6'9". He's got a 7'4" wingspan. Last year, so he starts playing late in his naval career. He played for like the Navy intramural team, travels around the world for like a year and a half, 2 years. But it's not like real basketball. The head coach of that was an assistant coach at Miracosta Junior College in San Diego. He used his GI Bill to go to junior college, plays there for a year. We go to see some other kid and try and recruit him. And we're like, this guy's kind of freaky. We have no rim protection. We don't have a Charles Bediako. We start recruiting him. We get him. And so, yes, we have a 29-year-old. He turns 30 next year. We're like, we want him to come back. He's just now starting to develop into being a player. Like, he hadn't played. He doesn't know anything. It's literally like he was in a coma. And you're like, hey, this is a basketball. Really? Do you know what a slice cut is? Do you know what an Iverson? Nope. Do you know what drop coverage? Do you know all the other coverage? It's been a fascinating experience. So,
It's a movie,
anyway,
Doug. Doug, it's a movie.
it's yes. It's the whole thing. I mean, I could go on and on and do a great podcast on it and tell you about it.
I'm blown away. Tell
Yeah,
me what year is he in school? He's sophomore?
sophomore,
Fresh?
sophomore,
Ramel Bethea.
29-year-old sophomore, Ramel Bethea.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I need to talk to this dude.
Oh, he's great. He'd love to do it. He likes telling his story because what happens is he gets lumped in with the Charles Bediakos,
Yeah.
where they're like, well, dude, you're 29, go get a job. Like, no, I had a job. And then I decided to go to college. But he's never played basketball. Like, let me reiterate that. He didn't go out for the high school team. He didn't play youth basketball. He boxed some. He boxed, which by the way, like he's probably now, during the season, you lose a bunch of weight. I think he's like 185 pounds. Can you imagine a 6'9" dude with a 7'4" wingspan as a boxer? Like you get to his body, but he keeps you. He's got great timing as a shot blocker.
And the footwork.
So, yeah.
This is like out when we were in school, the movie Blue Chips. And Shaq is out on that island, and they're going to go find him, and they got to take the boat. But you didn't take the boat, but you got a kid off a battleship.
Yeah, no, that's very, very similar. It's something. It's something. He got dunked on the other day, and we had the picture of it. We sent it on the group chat. Said, "Hey, never too old to get baptized." But he got the guy back on the very next play, get dunking back on him. So, look, I mean, I'll just tell you this. I know we're all talking about these horror stories or whatever, and I can't speak to coaching in Alabama. And I reiterate, Nate's a friend. I just disagree on this element of it. I do. I don't think it's great for the sport. I think when you make that decision to go to the NBA, you're done. You're done. You know. But I will tell you, and every kid on our team receives compensation above that of their scholarship and of their cost of attendance. But we give academic bonuses, and my team has the second highest GPA in school history for a basketball team. And it's still coaching. They're still precarious kids. We're not paying enough money for it to be life-changing money, but it still means something to them.
Sure.
There is something about it in that you can hold them a little bit more accountable when you have their money. Hey, man, fail a drug test, I'll take $1,000. You get a part. You do something to embarrass the university, we take some money because you're a paid representative of the university. That's how we do it. We do it. We don't use a collective. We do it in-house, which is totally legal, and we do it with our rev share. And then I allow them to have their own NIL above and beyond this. So this is the baseline of what you're going to make, and they all get compensated. But the truth is, they're still kids. They're still a team. None of our guys are flossing because we just don't have enough money for that. So there is still a certain level of purity to it at this level. I think at the Power Four level, that purity is sort of gone. And I think the way to get some of it back, obviously the dollars are going to make it really hard, is the multi-year contracts with the buyouts. So because you're asking a booster to one, come to every game when you don't know any of the players. And none of the students know any of the players because they're not students anymore. And then you're asking these donors, hey, we need you to give more money every year for a different player. Trust me, this guy, he's going to win for us. But that guy didn't work out. Don't worry, we got another one. He's going to, and at some point, they're just like, hey, I'm out on this thing. It's like the Troy Aikman thing. Like, I'm out. I gave money. The kid left. I'm soured by it. I'm out. So, but at our level, there is still a purity to it. We have really good donors. We do things like auction off. You can play golf with my kids. My guys, I have like 4 guys that are really good golfers. We have donors that take my players fishing. We have donors that have them over for dinner, and we do that to raise money, and they compensate the athlete as like it's an appearance. So you got to be creative about it, but there is still maybe not a purity to it, but there is still a right way and a wrong way to do it. We're trying to be legal, do things the right way, do things on budget, make the players feel like they're super supported, but also make them earn some of this money. You don't just get it for showing up at practice. You get it for showing up 15 minutes early to practice with a great attitude. And then you got to be a pillar in the community. You got to do your job academically.
Yeah, a lot of relationship building. My last question, the academic bonus thing, is that something you started when you got there? You mentioned that they were on probation.
So there's something called Alston money. Okay.
Right.
This was a
Right.
lawsuit against the NCAA going back like 15 years ago. So every university can give Alston money to their student athletes, and it's supposed to be based on some academic criteria. The truth is that most of the Power Four schools just get it's $3,000 a year. Most of them just give it to them. We don't. So it was the idea of my athletic director, Josh Moon. And when I got the job and he said, what do you think about this? It was an idea I think that Sundance Wicks started, but he didn't publicize it. But when Sonny took over, he was only here for a year. They turned around the academics, and then we kept it going. I was offered the possibility of eliminating it, and I said no. We also only give the $3,000 academic bonus. We don't. If you're a freshman, you don't get it. You don't get it till you come back for your sophomore year. So sophomores, juniors, seniors, grad students, they get it.
That's refreshing, Doug. Doug, I could sit and chat with you all night. I know you got a lot to do, man. We got to get you back like every day in the media. I mean, there's got to be a world where you can do that again, man. I mean,
You
this
know
was
what?
the best chat I've had in a
I
long
will tell you
time.
this. So, like I said, last year was like one of those everybody's piling on. You know what you're doing. You suck. I've been a media personality forever, and it like hurts your soul when I love college and basketball. My dad was a coach. My brother's a
Yeah.
coach. This is all I've ever wanted to do in my life. The other night we won on a buzzer shot,
Oh.
and I got to tell you, last year I'm watching the NBA playoffs, and the Pacers come back and beat the Knicks. And I'm on the phone with my brother, who's an assistant at San Diego State with the women. And I said, man, just once next year, just once, I want that ball to go in for me. Because this year it always went in for the other guy. And I feel terrible for Northern Kentucky. At our place, they had a ball go in and out and went out, could have beaten us at our place. We go to their place, we're up double digits first half, double digits second half. We choked that sucker away. We're down 5 with 30 seconds to go. Get a putback. They turn the ball over against the press. We hit a 3. They miss. We go to overtime, and I have a 5th-year senior who stayed. Refused to take a raise because he wanted to make sure. He's like, Coach, I don't care if I make $1 next year. I just want to win for Green Bay. His name's Preston Rudinger. He was originally a walk-on at Valpo when he started his college career. This kid was sick. He didn't get out of bed for 2 days. We can't play without him. He's got a 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. He hits a 3 to win the game in Northern Kentucky. And I just thought back to my conversation with my brother, where he's like, "It'll happen. You have to stay the course. You have to be consistent. You have to build the right way. It's just the law of averages. It'll work out." It didn't ever feel like it last year. Last year felt like you. And even when we lost Sunday at home to Wright State, and I remember I asked my assistant coaches, like, "Are we going to win another game the rest of the year?" You know, and then you win one, and you're like, "Wow, it's the most incredible, most rewarding feeling to see like Preston Rudiger hit that shot and how his teammates feel, how united they are, and what we're trying to build here in Green Bay, Wisconsin."
It's like golf. It's like golf. It's you think you're sick in the head until you hit that one good shot and it brings you back. And then you keep
Yeah, the
trying to get
problem
better and
is I
better.
usually hit that shot on like the 12th tee box, right? And by the time I get to like the 16th tee box, my ADD is kicking and I'm thinking about something else. And by the time I get to 18, the one shot on 12, like I can't. I've actually turned the corner in golf. I belong to Oneida, which is a beautiful
Oh,
course. You're welcome to come up here and play.
yeah.
Um, where I know I stink, so I don't get mad anymore, or I try not to get mad anymore. Like, hey, I don't play enough. If I played enough, that'd be one thing, but I don't play enough. So who knows? As long as we try and hit the fairways, and I try and have some balance about me. But it is like golf; it keeps pulling you back in. It's like the mafia. That's really what it's like.
Doug, you're the man, brother. I appreciate you hopping on. I want to wish you success for the rest of the season, and then maybe we do a post-mortem after you win a bunch of games and you're in a really good mood around Masters time.
Anytime. I love the Masters. I might head down to South Carolina, do a little Monday after the Masters. My boy Darius Rucker. Get down to the South. Sweet Tea District is that's my that's I love the Palmetto State. That's a good place for me.
I played with that bunch, and they must have seen 3 golf balls when we were playing it. I'll leave it at that. You can figure it out. It was fantastic. Doug, you're the man, brother. Appreciate you.
Have a good one.
All right, that's Doug Gottlieb. It's absolutely fantastic conversation with Doug Gottlieb. I could chat with that guy all night. Just a really interesting guy, and I can't overplay it. I can't overstate it. Just how he's been in these 2 worlds. He's been in the media, seems like forever, and now he's a full-time Division I head coach. I mean, he's still got some media responsibilities. He gave up his radio show in December, his national radio show. He's still got the podcast that you can find on the iHeart Podcast Network. But to be in both, because there are 2 certainties in this world. You can have relationships with coaches, you can get along with coaches, all that, but there's still that distrust. I promise you, until they are done coaching, and even sometimes even after, there's still that distrust. I've been around enough of them to know, and I've been friends later with some who, after their coaching days, they were able to let the guard down and say, yeah, we had to be like that for myriad reasons. And there's so much involved. You can't really blame them. You can't really blame them. I mean, what is it? It's easier to get a job than keep a job. That's the truism that we're always told with regards to coaching. It's easier to get a job than to keep a job. And if you're able to keep a job, then you're like Houdini. You're like David Copperfield or something. I mean, it's absolutely, you've done a wonderful, wonderful thing. I appreciate his opinion on the whole situation because, again, he can come at it as both a coach and a media member. I'll go back to what I said earlier, though, and this will relate to what Doug was talking about. He's friends with Nate Oates, loves Nate Oates. He's not saying he would not. He stopped short of saying if he would do it or not, and I thought that was a prudent approach. But Nate Oates technically isn't breaking any rules right now. But that's still, man, to be the one that pushes that ball forward, to be the coach that actually tries to make this happen, and then all the things that will come afterward will be traced back to what you did. Whew. That's tough. And I'm wondering this. Let's say Charles Bediako is not allowed to play the rest of the year. Will this finally be the moment where the people that are moaning and bitching and complaining about the system, would this be the moment where they finally rally and come together and have a concerted effort to change the rules, to make the rules more palatable? Maybe back to what they were reflecting as. I really like Doug talking about And it was whimsical the way he was doing it, man. You could smell the nostalgia and hear it in his voice about how college athletics used to be the purest sense of amateurism to a degree. I don't know. It's been gone a while, but nothing like it is now. And I still watch college football, and I still don't feel like it's professional. Now, maybe that'll change when inevitably they have collective bargaining, when they have contracts with buyouts. We can't run it back, but we can get guardrails and rules and guidelines, uniform guidelines, not just for this conference or that conference, not just for this state or that state, but sweeping blanket approach to everything. Maybe we can get closer back to that, and we can just accept the fact they are getting paid, they are getting compensated, but it's still a beautiful thing. Just throwing that out there. I mean, I don't have a problem with them being paid. I don't have a problem with them being compensated. What I do have a problem with is the just unchecked movement of the portal. And I don't even hate the portal, but to just be able to go 1 year to the next, to the next, to the next. That is what wears me out. I think everybody should get one transfer. You can go whenever you want, and you don't have to sit out. I'm cool with that. I'm so cool with that. But anything after that, there has to be a penalty. There has to be a penalty. Or, to Doug's point, you have contracts with buyouts. Some kind of something that makes you – and I know a lot of times it doesn't matter. I think about this Darian Minson thing, the Duke quarterback who said, I'm coming back, and he signed, I think, a $4 million NIL deal or something to that effect with Duke. And then suddenly he's changing his mind and he's going to Miami. And then they came to a settlement. Some schools aren't going to mind. They'll hey, okay, how much you need to get out of your deal? All right, here, boom, here's the check. Come on. And I get that money is no object for some of these people, but at least have some kind of, speed bump, some kind of low hurdle that has to be crossed. Right now, it's just go when you want, wherever you want. How often do you want? Yeah, we spend so much time talking about it that it's exhausting, but I'm going to spend the weekend focusing on the positives. I'm going to spend the weekend focusing on a fantastic schedule of college basketball. Take more than a few peeks at the Super Bowl. Take a long look at the Waste Management Open. Get ready for NASCAR and try to keep up with everything going on with the Olympics in Italy. I want to thank Doug Gottlieb for joining us. Be sure to check out his podcast, All Ball with Doug Gottlieb, on the iHeart Podcast Network. As far as this podcast, do what people do with it. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever. Do it for this one. Hit me up with some comments. Let me know what's on your mind, or hit me up directly on X, Twitter, at Scott H Sports. Questions, comments, complaints. If there's a topic you want me to discuss, there's a guest you want me to interview, I'll try my best to facilitate it and make it happen. But let me know what's on your mind. But otherwise, until next time, be safe.